World Trade Center 7 stood in the shadow of the North Tower. Inside, the U.S. Secret Service's largest field office with more than 200 employees. On September 11th, all of them escaped, but Building 7 was reduced to rubble.
We walked out of the building with our gun on our hip, our two-way pagers, our handheld radio, and a pencil. And that's what we went to work with after the 9/11 attack.
Dave Curran is the number 3 guy at that field office. Building 7 was the center of the universe for the Secret Service and its Electronic Crimes Task Force.
We lost our network, we lost all our computers, we lost all the equipment that we use as Secret Service agents.
Cybercrime viewers are long familiar with Building 7. We met our tour guide in October 2000, Agent Robert Weaver, fondly known as the father of the New York Electronic Crimes Task Force.
The equipment that you see behind you is confiscated equipment representing 5 years of work and over 800 cases that are arrests and convictions.
Now, a pile at the bottom of a hole the size of a football field.
All the evidence that we stored at 7 World Trade in all our cases went down in the building. We were able to reconstruct our cases because we had backups of our reports and our memorandum and our evidence that we sent down to Washington, so we were able to retrieve that. A lot of cases had to be closed as a result of losing the evidence in the attack.
Where would they begin? With this Palm Pilot Bob Weaver had in his jacket pocket on September 11th.
This particular one has all of our industry partners, all of the law enforcement contacts we have.
Weaver now had a map to tracking down the members of the New York Electronic Crimes Task Force. But come 9/11, task force members would find him. One of the first phone calls to Weaver, Gerald Lynch.
And I said, "Where are you going to go?" And he said, "We don't know."
The president of John Jay College of Criminal Justice had something to offer: space. 2 years earlier, Weaver had come to John Jay College with a request: join the task force and help set up a high-tech crime library.
He said that I want to have a place that can really gather the elements of the field in cybercrime and have it in one place or a number of places.
Ironically, the Secret Service would end up occupying that very space as its new war room.
This is the third room. This is the third bay.
3 rooms accommodated the day-to-day operations for about 100 agents. Now familiar faces were sharing desks and donated items. Each agent received 2 computers and a backpack.
One of the computers should go home with us, so we never find ourselves in a situation that we found ourselves in after the 11th of September.
But the biggest contribution? Time.
We're doing good, thanks to you.
Task force members like Steve Brannigan, a former police officer now with the network security company Lumeta, gave himself.
And the first priority was to get email and to get connected back.
All Brannigan and his colleagues had to get started: this single computer outlet. The goal: first get 1 agent on email.
There were a lot of technical issues that we got to wrestle, but once we got that done, then it was a matter of just growing it over time.
Hundreds of man-hours later, every agent was online, conducting secure high-tech investigations.
One of the first things we did once we rebuilt the task force was go back to our cases and see which ones we could rebuild.
And there was a new case.
This is our new office. The new office is the New York field office.
The location, Brooklyn. The view, a straight shot of where the Twin Towers stood. As for getting back on their feet, Steve Carey, the special agent in charge, credits Weaver's foresight in setting up the task force.
Had those things not been set forth or put in motion prior to September 11th, we still would have been out there trying to put this thing back together.
The task force was able to become a very productive and actually flourished in the wake of 9/11 because of Bob Weaver and the way that he developed the task force.
It'll be a while before these sterile offices feel anything like home, but this will help. One plate that hung in Building 7 was recovered, another gift from another volunteer.
We always did for the community. We never thought that they would ever have the tables turned on us and they would come to our aid and our rescue. That's exactly what happened.
Tony.
Tony Young is high on gamma hydroxybutyrate, or GHB. His wife shot this video because she wanted to show Tony how the drug affects him. Thanks to GHB, Tony has lost his job, traumatized his family, and is currently in jail.
GHB is a drug. It is addicting. That can ruin, that can destroy your life.
Steve asked us not to use his last name. He's also had a problem with GHB. He's been using since 1996.
It just sort of like helped me, like, you know, come out of my shell and not feel nervous and, you know, just like speak my mind.
To Steve, G was a miracle in a bottle, a tranquilizer, a sleep aid, a euphoria-producing party drug. By early 2000, Steve was taking GHB around the clock, buying it on the internet at a cost of about $1,000 a month.
All I had to do was log on and I'd have it the next day. You know, through express mail, it could be at my door the next day.
And when Steve tried to quit,
and the first 12 hours without the G, I started to hallucinate. So it was really scary to see things and didn't know where I was.
After several failed attempts to get off GHB, Steve checked into this detox clinic near his home in New Jersey. He went through 7 days of treatment for withdrawals.
Right before I went away to detox, I actually, on the car ride there, I took some with me. And as soon as I checked in, that was my last dose.
That's what Steve told us the day after he got back from detox, that he was finally off of GHB. What he didn't know at the time was that his mother, who didn't want to appear on camera, told us a very different story. She says that when he got back from detox, that he scoured the house, found his stash of GHB, took it, and got high. Then she watched her son staggering around the house, unable to speak, and eventually pass out. So, in that same interview, we asked Steve again whether he had taken any GHB in the last 24 hours.
No, I know I didn't have any because I got rid of it. You know.
Then, with Steve's mother standing just off camera, the real story finally came out.
Why did you tell him that? Yeah. Did you tell him that I did? Yeah, I guess you did.
We asked him why he withheld the truth.
I don't know, because I look like an asshole. I just spent all this money on rehab.
Very characteristic of addiction is that when people are craving their drug, their mind can't remember, can't call to mind the trouble they're in. That's called denial.
Dr. Alex Stahlcup is an addiction specialist and medical director of the New Leaf Treatment Center in Concord, California.
GHB reduces anxiety levels. When people who are physically dependent on it go into withdrawal, they become intensely anxious, feelings of doom, feelings of impending death.
And GHB addicts aren't the only ones who know the destructive power of this dangerous substance.
You'd think if you got raped, you'd remember it. Well, you don't. You don't when they drug you.
Patricia White had never heard of GHB when back in July of 1999 she went out to a restaurant with some coworkers. She remembers her boss offering her what she thought was just a drink.
I was like, no, I don't want to drink. He's like, just try this. Here, just take a little, don't worry about it. And I did.
After that, Patricia's memory gets foggy. She remembers a drive down this highway with her boss and his friends, and being pulled from the car in this parking garage. She then remembers awakening from an unconscious state, naked, in a strange bed, her boss standing over her.
When I screamed, he had told me, he says, I don't know why you're screaming. He says, everybody saw you, everybody did you.
But Patricia didn't remain conscious for long.
He told me I needed more happy juice because I was so upset, and because I was crying, and because I wasn't cooperating. Then he told me I needed more happy juice.
The next morning, Patricia emerged from this Long Beach, California apartment building. Disoriented and confused, she called the police. Tests showed she had a near-fatal level of GHB in her system.
It produces basically an inability physically to defend yourself. It produces unconsciousness or semi-consciousness with, in many cases, total amnesia for the events.
Patricia's boss, Lorenzo Fial, is now serving an 11-year prison sentence for rape and sodomy by use of a drug. No one knows for sure how he got the GHB.
Rape is an act of violence. It's an act of control. And however it's done, GHB is just one more form for them to use. It's a threat to everybody out there.
Behind this door, the feds are secretly collecting information. They're looking for vulnerabilities to our financial systems, to our transportation systems.
We worry about water, sewage, electric power, insofar as those things, the infrastructure things, rely on cyberspace. That's because none of those things work anymore without cyberspace.
With a direct line to the president, that makes Richard Clarke the senior-most guy in the White House thinking about how to protect cyberspace. From nuclear arms control to counterintelligence to cybercrime, Clarke has served every U.S. administration since 1973.
We're in a very risky position. We allowed ourselves during the 1990s to put all sorts of critical functions for the economy and for the government into cyberspace without ever designing security. We took the fast road, the cheap road, the easy road.
Clarke is known for his candor and his effectiveness. Critics call him a fearmonger. This quote appeared in this article, published the day we sat down in Washington, D.C. How substantial and how imminent is an al-Qaeda attack on the internet?
Well, we don't know what we don't know. You always have to begin there. The evidence that we have accumulated to date by interrogating al-Qaeda members and by going through their computers, physically going through their computers, suggests that they do have an interest in cyber attacks, and they do have some tools for it that you can get off the internet. But we don't have any information that suggests they have sophisticated capability, and we don't have any information that suggests that they have an attack planned.
You've been quoted as saying that every single government agency that you've tried to break into, maybe not you, your people, you've had success. Is that accurate?
Yeah, it's accurate. The National Security Agency has a team that goes around with permission and tries to get into various government departments. They always get in.
We must create a Department of Homeland Security.
And depending upon Clarke's role, a new Office of Homeland Security could give his group the authority, staff, and money he needs to help secure cyberspace.
Homeland Security, in turn, will be worrying about policy, programs, warning, analysis, giving aid to state and local governments that need it for responding to terrorism and responding to cyber problems.
Right now, the federal agencies defending cyberspace are fragmented all over Washington, D.C. The new Office of Homeland Security is intended to consolidate them, bring them under one roof so they can share information. That plan includes moving one of the country's most high-profile cybercrime divisions, the FBI's National Infrastructure Protection Center, or NIPSI. At FBI headquarters, this is as close as you're going to get to the FBI's NIPSI.
It is my job to worry about what the vulnerabilities are and what the threats are that could utilize or attack those vulnerabilities.
Ronald Dick is the NIPSI director. His agency is running defense against potential terrorism 24/7. Dick says a new Office of Homeland Security could face some of the unique challenges NIPSI did when it launched 4 years ago.
The whole issue here for us, for the Department of Homeland Security, if and when it's created, is the building of trust between the other federal agencies that they share information with the Department of Homeland Security,